Now, every day in England, more than 900 children with special educational needs are missing school because they've been excluded. It's a figure that's been described as a scandal by a group of MPs.
They say the focus on league tables discriminates against lower ability children, as Breakfast's Jane McCubbin has been finding out.
You have to send in all the evidence to what you are claiming.
Just some of the documents from Natasha's legal battle against her son's school. He didn't want to be filmed. He has ADHD and he struggled after changes in his mainstream secondary.
Suddenly they brought in a zero tolerance policy. Zero tolerance policy does not work with children with SEN. He got his first exclusion in year 10 for a very minor incident.
What like?
He actually wore the wrong colour socks to school.
Colourful socks, swinging on his chair, defiant behaviour. Behaviour, the school said, fully justified a series of exclusions, but a tribunal said that behaviour was linked to his disability and he had been discriminated against. The school told us they have since retrained staff and hired an educational psychiatrist.
I think schools can come away from excluding students if things are put into place to support students. If he had had that support, he would have shone.
Today, this report says much more should be done to curb exclusions. They've increased 40% in the last 3 years, but almost half of all of those are pupils with additional needs. That's over 900 SEN kids out of education every single day of the school year. This is in England. In Scotland last year, only one child was permanently excluded. MP Robert Halfon, who led on this report, says this has to change.
At the moment, it is, in my view, discriminatory because the level of it is reached proportions that we could never have imagined. There's a wild west of exclusions going on, and this is wrong. Whether it is due to too much zero tolerance in the class, whether it is resource issues, whether it is training issues, whether it is schools off-rolling pupils because they're worried about exam results. Whatever the reasons, it is wrong, and the government has to act and stop this.
Here in Halfon's constituency, over half of all children with SEN go to this one school. At Passmore, they say inclusion is in crisis, with schools judged only by academic standards.
There are so many horror stories about it happening across the country, and it's disproportionate because actually we're rewarded for not being inclusive at the moment. That's the problem.
Off camera, you used a really strong word to me. You used the word fraud.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Our funding agreement as an academy with the government says we will serve our whole community. If they're not serving the whole community, they're committing fraud because they're taking money and not doing the job they're being paid to do. And actually, the government needs to grow some teeth around it. Ofsted needs to grow some teeth around it.
The Department for Education told us the number of children being excluded is lower than it was 10 years ago, but they should only ever be used as a last resort. But today's report says they need to start judging schools differently and reward inclusion alongside results. Jane McCubbin, BBC News.
And Jane joins us on the sofa to discuss this further, because there's been lots of people getting in contact with us today. I suppose, Jane, there's two sides to this, isn't it? There's that righteous frustration and anger at the situation for many parents felt with their kids with SEND who aren't getting the care that they need, but also those parents getting in contact with you and saying, hold on a minute, what about the disruption? What about the behaviour in class which is affecting my children?
That's coming through. Can I just share a message that I'd received this morning? Parents like Linda have got in touch. She said this: what about other children in the class? Flipping desks, attacking others is not trivial. Letting SEN children get away with noisy disruption sends a message that bad behaviour has no consequences. Other parents, like Lillian, who are sympathetic and share the concerns in this report, said, hold on a second, this wouldn't happen if children got the right support in the first place. And that absolutely is the key message in here. You know, it says maybe for financial pressures, maybe because of league table pressures, SEN children aren't being identified. They aren't getting the help they need. Can I just remind you, in yesterday's programme, we met a young man called Kian. Now, in primary school, Kian, who is autistic, was told, his mum was told, you're never going to live independently. He's just got too many problems, because he struggled to process information, and that meant that he could get his anxiety levels could rise really quickly. Now, when that happens, that can lead to a kind of fight or flight reaction. But today he gets amazing one-to-one support, occupational therapy, speech and language therapy. He's flying, he's doing his GCSE soon, he's going to go on an apprenticeship. What this report says, if children get the right support, that's the outcome. You know, you can prevent this downward spiral, and that's what needs to be the focus now.
Also, the other thing that's come to light is these sort of hidden exclusions as well,
Yeah.
which
So
don't necessarily make the statistics.
So the spike that we've seen in the statistics, a 40% increase in exclusions, half of that SEN children, there's actually way more children behind that. Children who are off-rolled by schools and being taught at home. The report says we can't, you know, society can't wash their hands of them. We need to keep responsibility for them. And also children who are in school but still excluded because they're taught in a storeroom. One suggestion in this report is a Bill of Rights for children to protect their education.
You remind me, you're going to get your results soon, aren't you, Bill Maps?
Sorry, not go there.
Sorry.